If anyone looks at a map of Eastern Europe, they'll be surprised to see that Russia actually borders Poland. This little piece of Russian land is called Kaliningrad and has an interesting story behind it, and that is the topic we will discuss today. Hello, my name is David, and this is Eurasia. In order to answer the question, why does Russia own Kaliningrad, we need to travel back to World War II. Before World War II, Kaliningrad was named Königsberg and was a Prussian and German fortress and settlement for nearly 700 years, though it's seen periods of other kingdoms' rule, especially by the Teutonic Knights. Nonetheless, through the span of 700 years, Königsberg remained, more or less, ethnically German. It was built in a German manner, and the lingua franca was German. By the start of World War II, the population of Königsberg was well over 350,000. However, in 1941, after the Nazis betrayed the Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact, the Soviets bombed the city. Yet, this bombing was slowed by the quick advance of the Nazis eastward. The Soviets would run occasional air raids on the city throughout the war, nonetheless. Then, as the Soviets and Western allies began to push towards Berlin in 1944, Königsberg was obliterated by a 3-day-long British air raid. It was estimated that 41% of the houses were destroyed in the matter of 3 days at the end of August of 1944. By the time the Soviets reached and fought for the city in April of 1945, 90% of the city was in ruins. Under the Potsdam Agreement, the Soviet Union was given Königsberg for a few reasons. First, this would allow Russia to have another warm water port that is also closer to Europe. Moreover, however, Königsberg at the time was the closest land to Moscow not controlled by the Soviet Union. Thus, owning Königsberg allowed the Soviet Union to further secure its borders and create a buffer between it and the West. On July 14, 1946, Königsberg was officially renamed to Kaliningrad, while, of course, also changing the official language of the city to Russian. It was given to the Russian Soviet Socialist Republic, and between 1946 and 1949, nearly all German Kaliningrad residents were forcibly removed from the area, while Russian settlers took their place. By 1950, the population of the oblast was at about 1,100,000, half of which were not born in Kaliningrad Oblast during or before the Soviet period. During the post-war Soviet period, Kaliningrad had an extremely important role in hosting the Soviet Union's Baltic Navy. Thus, the area in and around Kaliningrad became filled with Soviet military personnel, of whom were usually extremely loyal to the Soviet Union. By the Soviet Union's collapse, Russians made up 80% of the oblast population, and nearly all of the Kaliningrad inhabitants were staunch Soviet supporters. Thus, neither Poland nor Lithuania wanted to have this oblast, nor did they have the authority to say they did. Thus, it became part of the Russian Federation with Russia's independence from the Soviet Union in 1991. Today, the population of Kaliningrad Oblast has dwindled down to 925,000. Nonetheless, it remains extremely important for Russian geopolitics. Kaliningrad still has a large Russian Navy stationed there and continues to be a willing pawn of Russian use against NATO and the West. Nonetheless, Kaliningrad's history follows a few common trends in Russian history. First, to find a warm water port, and second, create as much space between other countries and Moscow as possible. Thus, though Kaliningrad may seem odd to some, Russia's ownership of Kaliningrad is just one event of a common trend in Russian history and geopolitics. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like the video, and of course, click the subscribe button as well. Until next time, stay happy, stay humble, stay hopeful, and goodbye.